Our guest in this segment is the Secretary of State in the state of West Virginia, Kris Warner, with a K. He joins us via telephone. Kris, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, good morning. I'm calling in from the state capitol this morning, and it's good to be with you and good to be with the Admiral.
Good morning, Kris. Do you have a rant that you want to start off this morning with? We're ready for rants.
I'll tell you what. No, you can't do a rant when we've just finished with a session of the state capitol Bible reading marathon. So
You're exactly right.
Kind of put you at ease and get you started right for the day. And they're doing this outside for 96 hours straight. And so I got to do my session this morning, but it makes it kind of hard to rant after that.
I can understand. That's right.
I could have used that Bible yesterday when I went to the auto parts store and got charged $22 for an oil cap.
Oh,
yeah, that's the price for an oil
tough.
cap. Yeah, I could have taken the Bible and hit the guy over the head with it when he told me $22.
Are you driving something like a BMW or
No, it's a Honda.
What do you drive that costs $22 for an oil cap?
A Honda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I went in there. I said I need an oil cap. The guy goes $22.
Yeah, but it's nearly 400,000 miles on it, so it has
but
a
that
lot
should
of miles.
the miles shouldn't matter, right?
I've had a couple of vehicles, but the one I think of was a truck that just had a rag stuck in the top. That did the job.
I've seen people do that too. I've seen that done with gas tanks.
Yeah.
As well.
I borrowed my neighbor's cracked a couple years ago, and I only been using a few minutes, and it stopped on me, and I could not find out what's wrong. So I called my friendly mechanic because my neighbor's cracked. I did not want to break it on him. So the mechanic came out and started looking around. There was 2 or 3 big rags stuck in the bottom of the gas tank. That's what he'd been using. One had fallen down, and he stuck another rag in there. So
the old rag, it fixes everything. It's like
except it clogs up if it's in the bottom. If it's in the filter at the bottom of the gas tank, it stops everything.
That's a problem. But the rag is the duct tape of the automotive world, I guess, right?
The WD-40.
Kris, September is a big month in the voter registration world. What's going on in West Virginia with the month of September?
We've got just 4 months until candidates will start filing for the midterm elections in 2026, and it's about 9 months out before we'll have an election. So we are taking advantage of that time frame to focus on National Voter Registration Month. It gives people plenty of time to determine what party you might want to register in if you're not currently registered, or if you decide you want to change your party affiliation. It gives you plenty of time to do that, and you still fit the requirements so you can vote in the next election coming up in May of next year.
Let's pick up on that very quickly, Kris. Would the Republicans have changed their primary to a closed primary? I suspect a lot of independents, and I'm one of them, that will be changing to a Republican just so I can vote. When's the cutoff date for doing that?
Well, you can switch up until I believe it's about 3 weeks before the election. But yeah, we refer to those as unaffiliated voters in West Virginia. But the Republican Party Executive Committee has made that decision to close the primary. I was actually the state chairman of the Republican Party when we opened our primary up to allow more people to participate. But I guess they've decided that it's time to do that and close that primary. Our office, with a very limited budget, is going to have to find a way to help educate as many people as possible. We're asking the political parties to educate as well, that if let's say you are registered unaffiliated, you're going to have to switch to either Democrat or Republican if you want your ballot to count in the primary election next year.
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of elected officials in the Republican Party, and my impression is only a very few people in the executive committee drove this decision through, and there's some regret that it actually happened because I think it would serve us all better to have open primaries.
I've been at the meetings where they made that determination, and the argument that I heard, I'm not taking one side or the other on this. I'm just saying that the argument was, did the Republicans want, roughly 1/3 of the electorate in the state is not being registered Republican to decide who their candidates were that were going to advance to the general election in November. And they made that determination. It was 146 members of the state executive committee. It was what I think was a very close vote. I don't know what the exact total was on that day that they made that determination, but I know it was a very close vote according to the chairman when he said that this is the determination of the committee.
I don't know that it is a smart move to close the primary, but I think it is the proper move to close the primary in the sense that what parties stand for and what a party is supposed to do is nominate its candidate to run for office. And it is the party's nomination. It's not the general public's nomination. So if I'm a Republican and I'm nominating a member of my party to run, then I want to seek the input from other Republicans as to who our candidate should be. I'm not seeking the advice of Democrats or independents. I'm seeking Republicans to choose their candidate. So from that standpoint, I think it's the appropriate thing to do that Republicans should nominate a Republican, just as Democrats should nominate a Democrat. Now, I don't know if it's the smart thing to do for long-term party health and such, because it was opening up that primary that allowed Republicans, in part, to attract other voters into the nomination process, and has been a part of how the Republican Party has grown over the years in the state. There's obviously other factors, but that's one of those factors.
But you're going to have a lot of rhinos. We tend to use the term rhino. In this case, there's going to be a lot of rhinos.
Well, when you have a one-party state, which is what West Virginia has seemed to have been, whether that was when the Democrats controlled or the Republicans, you're either going to have dinos or rhinos already involved. Sorry, Kris, we were going back and forth here, excluding
No,
you.
yeah. No, and the thing is, now that I've been sworn into office, my job is to carry out either what the legislature has decided, or in this case, what each of the major political parties has decided. And we've got to help educate over 8,200 poll workers. And quite frankly, my concern right now is those 8,200 poll workers that are going to probably take verbal abuse when someone shows up, says, I've been doing this for 20 years, as an unaffiliated, and I want to vote a Republican or ballot in this case, and they're going to take verbal abuse, and we're going to have to coach them through. We plan on having signage that makes it very clear to those voters coming in at the polling place that the party has closed their primary to only Republican voters.
Yes, Democrats still have an open primary. Republicans now have a closed primary. And from the Democratic Party leaders we've spoken to, Kris, they intend on keeping their primary open at this time. And this is voter registration month, is it not, Kris?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, sir. So this gives folks the opportunity. The easiest way is to go to govotewb.com, and they can register to vote. You can do that from your personal computer or personal device, like your phone. You can also call and request an application from your county clerk, or you can stop by your county clerk's office and either register to vote, or, as the case may be, if someone has gotten married and their name has changed, that's happened since the last time that they voted, they need to make sure that information is correct at the county courthouse or on the Go Vote WB website. Again, if someone wants to change their party affiliation or just learn more about the election process in general, the site is govotewb.com, where all of that can take place. And
there are, if I recall, Kris, you said approximately 1.1 million registered voters in the state?
I think we have, just about 1.2 million registered voters. We have 1.8 million residents of the state of West Virginia. And I think in the last election we had about 770,000 people vote in the general election of 2024.
That's not a bad turnout, 70-something%.
Yeah, it was just over 63%, but depending on who you talk to, folks think that we can do better. So our job in the Secretary of State's office is to make it easy to register, make it easy to vote, and hard to cheat.
How do you account, Kris, that there's such a disproportionate turnout in certain parts of the state? We in the Eastern Panhandle, we in Berkeley County, are commonly see 17 to 18% of the turnout.
I've always thought that, we've been asked, well, why can't you get a better turnout as Secretary of State? And it's, quite frankly, it's not the Secretary of State's job to increase turnout. Again, we've got to make it easy to register and easy to vote, but it's the political parties, it is the candidates, it's the political action committees that drive the percentage of turnout in an election. So, if you got an exciting candidate and it's time to replace someone that's been there before, you're going to have a higher turnout. But that responsibility is on to the parties and the candidates to drive the actual turnout.
You mentioned keeping the integrity of the elections, Kris, keeping them honest, and we received a press release from your office September the 3rd that said West Virginia ahead of the game on election security initiatives expressed by the White House. What did that mean?
The White House, the president is now talking about, whether it's not using voting machines or a paper ballot. They want to see a paper ballot. And they're also talking about no mail-in voting. And again, what I think the president was referring to is there are 8 states, and I'll just use California as an example, where they mailed out over 22 million ballots to every registered voter in the state. Only 16 million came back in the last presidential election. So I don't know that that's an effective way to try to increase turnout, but you don't know when 6 ballots are mailed to a house because there are 4 kids off at college or in the military, and somebody at home's getting those ballots, and they decide to go ahead and vote those ballots. Now, that we all know that wouldn't be right, but you're counting on the honor system for the right person to be voting those ballots that are mailed out. So I think that's what the president is talking about when he talks about mail-in voting, just ballots going everywhere and allow anyone to vote those ballots. In West Virginia, we have a absentee balloting process where there are certain exceptions. You have to be in the military and overseas, or you're homebound and you cannot, severely disabled and you cannot make it to the polling place. I think we have 11 exceptions, and you can request an absentee ballot, and that is mailed to you. By the way, it is tracked every step of the way, and you can watch your ballot through the process from the time that it's approved by the county clerk. There are over 900 different ballot styles in West Virginia, so the ballot style going to you has to be the right ballot to make sure your House of Delegates candidate is there, your state Senate candidates for judge, and on and on. So the county clerk approves that, and when it's approved and mailed back to you, that's recorded on the website for you to see, okay, my ballot has now been sent out. I can be expecting that. Once you vote and it goes back into the county clerk, it's noted again on the website. And then when it's officially counted, it's noted again. So you can watch the entire process, and we have a very tight process. And there's a paper ballot backup for every vote cast in West Virginia. Very different than what you see in states like California and Vermont, Washington State, and the District of Columbia.
But Kris, there's some concern that the type of machines we're using was on the list of the president's not to be accepted list. Is that true? And if it is, are we going to be replacing our machines?
There are 2 things that could, well, actually 3 things that could happen. The U.S. Congress could decide, which is unlikely prior to 2026, that no voting machines are going to be used, or the ones that are being used in West Virginia. The EAC, of which our state legislature has decided to follow the federal organization of the Election Assistance Commission, if they would decertify our machines, then we would not be able to use those machines, or if the West Virginia legislature decided. So if any of those things happen, know that we have already got a plan B and, quite frankly, a plan C. One would be a plan to print up enough of those 900 different ballot styles to have everyone in the state be able to vote on Election Day. Hand marking those, would be Plan B, and Plan C is if we're not able to use a scanner to count the unofficial results on election night. We all know that the vote totals that come out on election night are unofficial, and then once the canvassing has occurred, with 3% of all the ballots in a county are hand counted, and when they match the scan count, then you have the official results. And if they're off by more than 1%, or if an election, quite frankly, is overturned by the hand counting, then you have to hand count every ballot in the county. And we're prepared to do that. We just had a great conference with over 200 election officials representing every county in the state at Canaan Valley here a couple of weeks ago.
Do you have any idea how long it would take to hand count all the ballots?
I haven't looked at how many days, but the concern is, and obviously it's going to be easier in a smaller state like West Virginia than maybe Pennsylvania next door with cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. But I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It's all been in our lifetimes when they were hand counted. They got the job done, but we have not had one problem in West Virginia with our machines, with whether that's the marking machine, the express vote that we use in West Virginia, or the scanners that count those votes. So we've never had a problem with it even being off by the scanners being off by one vote. So we're prepared to move ahead the way that we always have, unless one of those three things that we mentioned earlier happen, and then we'll be ready for a hand count. The one thing I want to mention, though, on a hand count is when you don't get a result on election night and you don't have it for a couple of days, you start to lose confidence in the system, and that in itself is going to hurt turnout for any future elections. So it's really important that voters have a sense of who their candidates are that were elected on election night, and then have an official count 10 days later when the canvassing occurs in each of the counties.
Let's go back to the machine for just a second, Kris. Two questions. One, do all the is the same machine used throughout the state, or are the different machines? And what are the manufacturers? What machines are being used?
No, the machine is referred to as an express vote, and I think almost all of the counties have made that switch. There may be some counties that are still in that transition process, but I know that almost all of our counties use the same electronic marking machine, again, that produces a paper ballot, and that's probably the most important thing for everyone to understand. We always hear, well, we need a paper ballot. Well, we have a paper ballot in West Virginia. It's produced by that machine based on, where you live, and you get a chance to look at it and make sure that every one of the votes that you marked on the machine actually printed out on the ballot that then goes in the ballot box before you drop it in the ballot box. So you have the responsibility to look and make sure your vote is as you cast it on that machine. And if not, you can go back and vote again by working with the on-site poll worker.
There was a lot in the last election. There was a lot to be said about the Dominion voting machine. I assume by what you said, the express vote is not a Dominion machine. And the second question is, how many states are using Dominion machines now?
Well, I think about 2/3 of the country has used that Dominion machine. We do not. We work through a company, ES&S, and then locally, Casto and Harrison in West Virginia. I have not seen the machines that we use on any of those lists that are in question, but again, we're ever watchful. We will be ready on a moment's notice if there is ever proof that there has been anything that has happened with any of the machines we're using in West Virginia, and we'll be ready to go to Plan B or Plan C.
Kris Warner is our guest, Secretary of State in West Virginia. What do candidates need to know as we get closer to filing deadlines, Kris?
So they just need to be ready on January 12th. We'll start the filing period. If they are raising money, they need to, again, go to govotewv.com and go to the finance section and read the manual on what you need to do in forming a committee if you're going to raise money for your election.
Very good. And you're also the person who tells us how small businesses are doing in West Virginia. And while that's not the primary purpose of your appearance today, it's always good to check in with you on that. And reports are needed to be filed and such by small businesses as well. Any advice for anyone starting a business in West Virginia right now?
It is as easy as possible to go to the official site and register your business. We also have 3 one-stop business centers, one right there in Martinsburg, and they can get hands-on help. But we have developed the 9,000 most asked questions, and whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can pull up on your computer, ask any of those questions, and have them answered. I would also mention very quickly, Admiral, that we have a Boots to Business program where if you're a veteran, active duty military, or a spouse of one of those, you can register your business in West Virginia, and there is no cost, and there's no annual fees for the first 4 years. And that also goes for young entrepreneurs under the age of 30. They pay no registration fee and no annual fees for 4 years, and that's because we've worked with legislators like the owner of your station, Mike Hornby, and the legislature has made sure that we can offer those 2 programs through the Secretary of State's office.
Kris, good information. Thanks very much. Enjoy.
Thank you all very much for having me today. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Have a great day.